State your name and where you're from.
David Twin, and I'm from Venice.
What year were you born?
1972.
If you were to give a percentage of how many black people that lived in Venice when you were growing up, what would the percentage be?
I would say like 90%.
90%.
Yeah.
And what do you feel like the percentage is now in Venice?
Maybe like 5.
5.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what Venice was like when you were growing up? Can you describe it to me?
It was beautiful, man. Like, we knew what fruit trees to go eat off of at what time, you know. It was family. All family. Everybody was family. Venice is one of those places, if you weren't from Venice and you came to visit, you didn't want to go home. You know, it was family orientated. It was one of those things where there was always something to do. We were never bored as children.
Can you explain what feeling or vibe you get being born and raised in Venice?
I felt different than everybody. Like, I don't consider myself being from LA. You know, and people say that's the west of LA. Nah, Venice is its own entity. And it's a privilege. You know, back in the day it was a privilege. Because you think about it, like, it wasn't about getting DP'd by homies and stuff like that in the hood back in the days. It was being ostracized, like never being able to come back to Venice. That was the thing that people were afraid of.
What are the vibes or feelings that you get from Venice now?
You see in the Terminator in the end when my nigga like he's about to die out? That's how I see it. You know what I mean? But here's the thing, it'd take a strong surge. But if everybody stayed in their lane the way that they need to, man, Venice can prosper. You know, and that's why I'm glad you're doing what you're doing with the information. We have a strong culture that can be jump-started. You know, and it's through information and through sharing and inventing and healing. Yeah. You know?
Do you think Venice will ever be the community that it once was when you were growing up? When I was a kid, maybe? When I was a
No.
kid? No?
Nah, you had too many generations that were down here at that time. And she's lost her old skin, like a snake shedding her skin, you know, and it's too many people are gone. Like, not moved out dead. Yeah. You know, and back then it's like the thing that you had the old folks, you know, and you had the ones that the moms and pops and uncles and then the kids, you know, and then the babies, and we were all related to one another in some sense. I hated walking to places because I say, okay, I'm gonna walk down here off of 5th and go down to 7th. It takes so damn long because you gotta talk to everybody. Hey man, where your daddy? Whoa. So it's just like, so you get on the bike and put your head down and, you know, so you have to get in conversation. So you'll never have Venice like that again.
Yeah. So do you ever see Venice being a predominantly black community again?
No.
What's your best memory of Venice?
Mainly on 5th back in the day, or on Indiana. Everybody just come out. You know, people in Venice back then didn't get dressed until 5 o'clock. The favorite term is, I'm about to go home and get dressed. LG had that shit famous. You know, I mean, I'm about to go get dressed. You know, we'd all dip out, go get dressed, and meet back up around 6 or 7, is, you know, get a little bottle of Satins and 40 or something. And we'll all meet up in the same area. Old, young, everybody was just accepted. And we were all just chill. It was nothing. You got lowriders out there, Nissan trucks back then, you know, Elcos and all that. The homies all had nice whips, you know what I'm saying? So, and they playing different music, the homegirls come out, and it was just like, this is our world. And we all felt safe. It's just the camaraderie we had.
So when you came back, when you touched down in 2011, you felt like camaraderie left?
You know what? In a certain sense, and I've seen it dying out more.
How was Venice in the 80s?
Rowdy.
Rowdy.
Crack epidemic.
Okay. Where did you fall place in that crack epidemic?
Shit, my dad was one of the first crack dealers in Venice. You know, it was a certain few that started, and he was one of the first. So I fell right in the middle of it, you know. Yeah. I was taught how to cook crack when I was 13.
When did you start selling?
Around 14. They used to sell like pills and maybe joints off the stairs. And then when it changed over to crack, it was just like, it was a whole different traffic and demeanor. And it was just like, when you finally seen it, like, damn, that's what they going crazy for? But it's like, it wasn't one of those things where it's like you was ashamed of it or anything. It just was normal.
How did the neighborhood change once crack entered?
You had a lot of chips on people's shoulders because they felt like they didn't need anything. They had money, you know. And, you know, you seen youngsters with cars and stuff.
Back in the day, how many of your homies in the hood were selling drugs?
Everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah. It wasn't one of those things where he was even afraid to do it. Everybody. It was just who had the better tactic, who had a better hiding place, but everybody sold drugs.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Out of all those people that were selling drugs back in the day, how many of those people are still living in Venice now? Are homeowners in Venice now?
None.
None?
I don't know none that we were serving, and not from my crew.
Yeah.
None of us on that shit. Mostly my crew was damn near dead.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. So I got a lot of cats that I grew up with, the Brook boys, that knocked down or got life.
Do you think there were any other legal options to make money when you were growing up?
Yeah, like Melvin, Big Mel used to teach us a lot. Like getting my first paycheck, I remember it was $241, not too far away from here. And went and picked up that check, and it changed a little bit to where I started washing cars and doing other little things, but that dope money was too good. Way too good.
So nothing to compare to it?
Nothing. And destroys the value of the penny also.
When you were selling drugs back in the day, were you able to save a lot of that money?
No, you ain't save shit.
No.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Spent it as you got it.
Just as fast as it came, it went?
Yes, sir. You did have certain cats that was out there bubbling and doing what they were supposed to do. But for the most part, shit, we just wanted to buy clothes, drink, have some money in the pocket, a couple pieces, and, you know, gold or something. We weren't worried about shit else.
So a lot of the people that were selling drugs, they were just living for the moment?
Yes.
Okay, not planning for the future?
Mm-mm. Not at all.
If everybody was making so much fast money, why do you think nobody became a homeowner in Venice from your generation, your crew?
Poor guidance.
Poor guidance.
Yeah, wasn't listening to some certain things, and like back then, like you didn't know nothing about no credit or no shit like that. So not having the proper guidance and then living for the moment, selling dope and getting money was secondary to gangbanging. You knew who the hustlers were, and then you knew who the gangbangers was in the hood back then.
Most of the gangbangers were selling the drugs too then?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the main enterprise.
Do you recall when crack first came into the neighborhood?
It was in the early 80s. I grew up right there in the Mecca on 5th and Broadway, 505 Broadway. But then I ended up moving to Brooks. And then, but that's when I started getting into the game. You know, 636 Brooks and then 667 Brooks. And the sad part is we lived right next door to the pastor. Wow. So he watching what we doing all weekend and Sunday. We gotta go to church and look at it like these little bad motherfuckers.
How old were you when you first heard about Venice Crip?
Born into it, like it's always been there.
And how old were you when you first got put on, first got initiated in the Showline Crip?
I was in junior high. I mean, it almost doesn't count because we were always together, and it was just like, okay, let's just jump each other in. You know, that type of shit.
How did your life change after that?
It was the same.
It was the same?
Yeah, basically, it's like, it wasn't like, okay, now you gotta make your bones type of shit. Nah, we was already doing that.
What made you want to get put on the hood and start banging, you know, Showline Crip?
Back then, it wasn't a stressful thing. You know, like some people feel like if you join a gang or whatever, it's this big stress on you. It was just like, I'm with these cats every day. These are my loved ones. You know, I'm with them more than I was with, you know, my own brothers or, you know, my mother and father.
Growing up in Venice, what was your favorite place?
Between 6th and 7th and Brooks.
Why is that?
That's where we hung out, and I had my most camaraderie with the people that I was with. You know, we learned so much in that era of time, you know, and then we were together, and that's what I remember the most.
During your teenage years, where did you spend most of your time in Venice?
Shit. Between the block and then juvenile hall. You know, I spent a lot of time in camp. I went to camp twice, did a violation, and then I got a life sentence when I was 18.
18?
Yeah.
What did you get the life sentence for?
2nd degree murder.
Do you feel that prison rehabilitated you at all? Did you do that work on your own?
I did it on my own. You know, I'm not going to take nothing away from those who like teachers and certain COs and youth counselors that believed in me and would give me little gems sometimes. But for the most part, I did it on my own, you know, with my people, you know, as far as like who we were doing time with. I didn't just get up and do it by myself. I had a lot of round table discussions, man. and trying to figure out how do we get out of here? It's like we dug this hole to jump in this motherfucker, but how can we push the dirt back in here so we can raise up out of here? And when you do that, everybody else can get out of the same hole.
So how were you when you first moved out of Venice then? Was it 18 when you got the life sentence?
Yeah.
Before you ever went to prison, did you ever see yourself going to prison?
You know what? I knew it was inevitable, but I didn't think I'd get life. I remember we used to talk sometime like if I ever go to the pen, man, I'm gonna come back with long hair, tattoos everywhere and shit, and just a different reputation, But when you're in there fighting for your life, man, whew, that's just different, man. But nah, I never thought I'd be gone that long, no.
How did that change your life once you got your life sentence?
When I first went in there, I was trying to make a name, like, you want the homies to respect you. So it's like whatever had to be done, I wanted to do it, and fighting a lot. But that's when you're in the county jail and you're going through the court process and all that. So you're moving around a lot, you can see a lot of enemigos and you get your hands on them. But once you go to program, like I went to YTS, all that shit stopped. Because that's when it's like, now I got to prepare for my life. And I didn't know exactly what I was doing then, but by the time I got to prison, I was set in what it was I needed to do to get out.
When you first got that life sentence, did you think you were going to die in prison?
No. I always had the mindset I'd beat the odds. And I remember one dude told me, he said, yeah, I plan on being here from like 25 to 30 years. I'm like, well, you gonna be in here for that long? I said, I'll be out. I'm trying to be one of the first ones out of here in like 15 to 20. Oh, no, that's never gonna happen. And I got my first suitability at 15 years.
And how many years did you spend in prison?
On that last one, it was 20 years and 2 months.
20 years and 2 months?
Yeah.
Can you tell me the craziest experience you ever had in prison?
I got found suitable for parole. And they always say don't tell people you get found suitable because now everybody gonna want to fight you. So I blabbed to get people, hope. And a certain cat wanted to fight me. And
right when you told him?
No, not right when I told him, but they know that I'm gonna break it down. I'm not gonna fight you, because I don't want to lose my date. So this cat was woofing. Woofing hard. And I just told him, man, calm down, man. Police right here, And then I went in the building, so everybody thought I tucked my tail, but I didn't. I went in there and took a shower, packed my shit, and then went and laid in his bed. So when the yard was over, he came in there. I said, come on, let's go. And he like, huh? I said, that's why I was telling you to calm down. I don't want nobody to break it up. It's just gonna be me and you in the back dorm, and whoever come out to be the victor, that's it. As we walk into the back, he was like, hey, man, you always be talking to people, helping them with their problems. I got an anger issue, homie. Won't you talk to me? That right there changed the scope of things for me and how I approached people and how I was dealing with stuff. Because this dude, he wasn't no bitch. He'll stick a motherfucker in a heartbeat, but for that moment, seeing him say, talk to me instead of us fighting, that fucked me up. Fucked me up. Like, I was like, sit down, man. Let's holler. And this man was older than me, but when I'm talking to him and he's telling me things, I seen a child inside of him. All of us grew up in prison, and as I said, I needed more supervision. He just needed somebody to supervise him and keep him on the right track. And he was like one of my best friends in there.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he was just crying for attention?
Yeah, he needed help. He might have woke up hurting, got a letter or a call, and that's the only way he knew how to express himself. So me attacking him, that wouldn't have done nothing for neither one of us. So it was easy for me to say, okay, cool, because I really didn't want to fight you. I wouldn't have been able to wake up in the morning if I didn't, address the issue. Yeah. So, but he addressed it back, and that was a beautiful moment for me.
What were some of the toughest lessons that you learned going straight from the streets to prison? Being alone amongst a lot of people,
and then hurrying up and waiting, as they would say, because you can go to court. And at that time, a month was a long time. So just imagine if they put you off for 4 months. It was like, oh my God, this is a whole camp term right here just to go back to court. Other lessons I learned was losing the relationship with my family. And it's like, and then homies that got knocked down that were real close to me. and not being able to be there to see them. Like the last time you seen them was when they were kids. I never got to know what they were as men. You know what I'm saying? Like some of their children I still see and they're like, oh, that's the homie's kid. You know, and that hurts right there. Like Peanut, Lil Nut Bone, you know, that was like a brother to me right there. Stoney, Cheese Man, you know, Rob Dog, you know, just to name a few. Those deaths changed the way that I seen things. Because these are dudes that it was like, where you at? You know, we putting dog shit in each other's pocket, you know what I mean? Like, hey, you got what's called in your pocket? Dig in there, like, and you know, we wouldn't be mad, you know, it'd be funny, you know? But I miss that, you know what I mean?
Well, what do you think is one of the most valuable lessons that you learned throughout that 20 years of prison?
Looking in the mirror.
Okay.
And respecting what I see in the mirror, because we were taught to destroy what was in the mirror, from ourselves down to our people. It's like we're all suffering the same thing, but somehow we've been duped into killing one another. Me learning how to say, I love myself, that was the most valuable thing, is to respect who I am. Even if it costs me friendships or whatever it may be, I still have myself, and I've been home for 10 years.
How did being in prison change you as a person?
My children, I had my first child while I was in prison, you know, and it's like doing time by myself. Even if you have a wife or a girlfriend or something, it's easier to do time because you're only worried about yourself. But now when you have a baby, oh shit, man, that's how I start getting these gray hairs, you know what I'm saying? I didn't have no gray hair for a long time, but then trying to fight and say, I want to see what it's like to hold my baby outside. You know, it changed me in a way that just like, I needed to know who I was.
Was there ever a time that you thought you were going to die in prison?
There was a few incidents, you know, where you can easily die up in there, a stray bullet or somebody popping you in the neck or something like that. I was too much of a warrior to think that somebody was going to kill me, though.
Yeah.
You know, I thought maybe a police would with a bullet.
Yeah. So you always thought that you would be a free man again?
Yeah.
How did you become a tattoo artist, and what led to that?
Oh man, I was always an artist. And when I used to see tattoos in there, and there was this guy named Mikey and Sapo from Pobre. Sapo was like the best tattoo artist I had ever seen. And then I would always be chasing him around, you know, asking him like, man, how you do this? And you need an essay, and he like, man, I can't, you know. And then one day I made a tattoo gun, was about this damn long, and he seen it, and he said, I'm gonna show you how to make a gun. And then I'm doing that, but it was like, it was a whole different feel of art. And then I was always saying I can be better than any one of these motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I had a chip on my shoulder when I started getting good, you know.
And how many years have you been doing tattoos for?
I started doing like 94, 95, but then I stopped, and then in 2000, that's when I took it serious. You know, I had a white dude named Adam Coco, called himself the Ink Peddler. He came in there and he was taking it to another level. And I used to follow him around, you know what I'm saying? And he's like, man, sit down, I'm gonna finally fucking teach you, man. And he taught me everything that I pretty much know until I got out of prison.
What year did you get out of prison?
2011.
2011.
Yep.
So after those 20 years and 2 months, you said, of your prison sentence, how would you say Venice has changed?
I came home and I was, my wife at the time was driving me around. I was on Indiana and didn't even recognize it. If it wasn't for the government apartments, it was just like, damn, where am I? But the streets looked so much smaller because of the gates, and so it made it look like it was real narrow. And that's just as far as the aesthetics, but as far as the feel of Venice, oh man, my heart was broke. Because I wanted to run back to that, you know, that embrace, you know, that we used to have for each other. But that embrace wasn't there anymore. And it was like, why do people act the way that they do? And people kept saying, Lone, it changed. I'm like, nah, it's still the hood, you know? But it took a while for me to realize that it really was gone. You know, what we had is gone.
What is one piece of advice you would give to your younger self?
Man, you smart, you have an opportunity to do something with sports, you need to stop putting everybody before yourself. Pay attention to what you're doing in school. And then once you get out of school, then you can make decisions. You can be an asshole if you want to, if you realize, after you turn 18, same thing I told my daughter, just please finish high school for me. And whatever you want to do with your life after that, you'll be an adult. And that's what I wish I could have told myself and then looked out for myself. I needed more supervision. You can't let me, the way my mind is, I wish someone had supervised me or, but whoopings didn't even work for me no more. Because I had too many different wounds in my heart.
You said that you didn't respect yourself when you were looking in the mirror before?
Yeah.
What made you make that adjustment and make that change?
I was real self-conscious when I was growing up because the style of life I had as a young kid, moving around a lot, I was embarrassed of a lot of things. I didn't even really like looking in the mirror. When some girls would give me compliments or whatever, I was more shy. Like, I'd be an asshole in the street, but shy when it came to women because I didn't think of myself that way. And then as I started getting older and older and people started to talk to me and I started talking back, that's when it's like, I kind of like who I am, and it's like I can learn a lot, and I'm like, not to shit on anybody, but like, this motherfucker stupid, the way this motherfucker acted. I'm not like that. I'm in a different class here and in here.
What made you want to keep elevating yourself even when you were incarcerated?
Because I seen a potential to where I started feeling enlightened by the lives that I was changing, talking to people. Like when you say somebody that's a fellow lifer in there, and then when they finally go home and they come back early in the morning, they always release you early in the morning, like 6 o'clock, and they tap on your bunk, I gotta give you a hug because the shit that you was telling me, that's what got me to go home. That made me wanna be different and say, you know what, I got a responsibility, and don't get me wrong, I ain't the best guy in the world, because I still have a temper myself, but it helped me to say, you know what, people are looking up to you in a certain kind of way. Stop fucking off your potential. You know what I'm saying? And that's one of the reasons why I push the way that I do.
What was the best time of your life?
Holding my children for the first time. Like my daughter, I wasn't there when she was born, but like going to the hospital and having my son. And you don't realize how much they cater, especially with a black family. I guess they're not used to having black fathers there when the woman is having the baby. So the first thing they did is, open your thing so he can feel your skin first. I said, man, you don't bring me my motherfucking son and give him to me. I'm over there, I rip off my shit and I'm holding my son. And it was like a beautiful moment, like feeling him and he's just laying there chilling. And to this day, boy, my son, he'll be 9 about a week and a half and he still holds my hand. He won't let me go he'll run right up and hold my hand. And it's like, I don't push him away, but it's like, that's love, you know what I'm saying? And that's the love of my children and making sure, that they know that they have an active father, man. That's the beautiful thing, man.
Do you feel that since having children, has that changed the way you view life?
Yeah.
Yeah? In what ways?
It makes the lion a little bit more dangerous, but it makes him a lot more smarter, saying, I want to come home. And I'm going to do whatever I got to make sure I made it home to my babies and protect my babies, but, the way that they made me think is saying, I can't think of myself. I can't put myself first. When I was waking up to them, and just seeing them sleep, or I come home from a long day, I was working a couple different jobs, and I worked at a nightclub, and when I came home at night, I would go in there and just look at them for a little bit, and then I'd kiss them. They're always the most beautiful when they sleep.
Can you tell me the most important lesson that you've learned in your life?
The very most important lesson is, it's almost like reiterating another answer I gave, and it's just saying, looking in that mirror and finally saying, I like you. I don't give a damn what nobody else say about you. I like you. I'm gonna fight for you. And whatever it is that you stand for, I'm gonna die for it. But I'm talking to myself. You know what I'm saying? I'm willing to die for what I stand for. Conviction within yourself. Yeah.
Appreciate your time.
Yeah. If you like this content, subscribe to GV Local.